The opinions and views expressed on this program do not reflect those of the management or staff of Community Media of Staten Island.
I'd like to welcome everybody back to another edition of our very famous podcast, The Good, the Bad, and the Indifferent. I'm Reuben Warren with my friends
Dave Frankel.
And Mike Axelrod.
And I thought that, I think last time we ended the program with Mike's mailbag, and I thought maybe we would start this time with Mike's mailbag. So what have you got for us, Mike?
Yeah, let's go with it.
Well, we did receive a bunch of mail this week. It's usually delivered or picked up at the Manor Road, and there was a small sack this week, and we had a number of letters in there from folks who watch our show streaming or through their cable systems. But the funny thing was, this week there were 2 postcards in the mailbag. Now, postcards I think of as when you go on vacation, you collect them as pictures of where you were, or maybe to write one out and send one to somebody. But I found it interesting that we got 2 postcards. And I just looked into it a little bit. Postcards are 61 cents now to mail a postcard.
Really?
That's the postage.
If you would have asked me how much a postcard was, I wouldn't know. I think I lost track.
61 cents.
After it went to 10 cents.
First
I
class
lost track.
mail is now 78 cents for a stamp. If you just went in and bought one stamp, 2 stamps at the post office, to 78 cents.
So you have to have really good friends that you think are worth mailing a letter to buy a
Yes,
stamp.
that's what I figured. If I got 2 postcards in our mailbag, I thought maybe people, they're not crazy about us. They just maybe like us. So they went for the 61, but they wouldn't go for the 78. One was from somebody in Appleton, Wisconsin. And it had a picture on the front. There was a picture of that town, of Appleton.
Really?
Yeah. So I guess they were promoting their town, and they sent it.
They must have a very big tourist center.
I'm not sure what Appleton. I have to check them out, what they're known for. But it was a postcard. It was a picture on the front. But it was funny. The writing on the back was, just saying hello to you guys. I enjoy your show. You make me laugh sometimes. And then it said LOL. So they texted something you usually use as a text.
Oh, they put in.
They wrote it out, LOL. So that's. That was like a text onto a postcard or something, a written out text that they mailed through the mail. And, postcards are because anybody can read them. They're not in an envelope, so, the
Right.
postman can read it, anybody can read
That's right.
it. So,
It's true.
but it's 61 cents, and there were 2 of them. One was from Appleton, Wisconsin. Another one was from a town in Texas, a very long name, a Spanish name, a town in Texas. And there was a postcard in there, too. And it said... there was a blank on the front. It was just on the back, just a blank postcard, which they sell, I guess, in the post office. And it just said, I enjoy your show, keep it up, blah, blah, blah. And so that was nice also from our friends in Texas and Wisconsin. But I was just wondering why they chose postcards as opposed to the mail. Maybe they didn't want to, like I said, go for the 78 cents. They were willing to go for the...
I'm wondering why they chose us to send it to.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, that's another story. But I think
what did they?
But the interesting thing, though.
Right.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
You're going to say?
Go ahead.
No. The interest. What I really find fascinating about the whole the fact that they actually took the time out to write.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, writing in and of itself, to me anyway, is a dying art. Right. I mean, handwriting who writes these days? Right. Hardly anybody actually physically
Script, you mean?
writes. They don't even teach handwriting. They don't teach cursive in school, in elementary school.
Well,
So
I heard it's coming back. I did hear from some teachers who said they're beginning to do a little of it, but you're right.
But in general, with
in general.
most young kids today. I mean, I know, even in my family, kids do their homework today on a computer.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times they don't even have to type everything out. It's all intuitive, so the system can actually finish the spelling of the word.
It's unbelievable.
So the fact that, these are adults that are doing the postcards, but I think that, at some point down the line, we won't even be able to, they'll probably discontinue postcards. They're probably even going to discontinue stamps at some point
Something's
because
gonna
people are not writing.
Well, I did receive a credit card bill from one of my credit cards that I had, and they charged me $1.99 and to send me a paper bill. And if I wanted to get the bill online, it's free, but $1.99 to send me, because I didn't choose paperless as one of the options on
that's
the
true.
grid. So, that's another thing, because if it cost them 78 cents to mail it, they're going to charge me $1.99 to send me a paper, because they have to produce the paper, they have to put it in the envelope, the whole thing, plus the postage, So I thought that was kind of weird. I don't know if I'm going to drop that card or not
But we're
continue with that.
dinosaurs, the younger generation today, they pay everything
It's almost
online.
It's almost
they
as-
don't pay anything
It's
with
tapping, right?
using
you can
money.
Just you can just
using-
tap.
Oh, that's
tap
great.
the phone.
It's almost as if they this is the way it is. It's always been this way. I'm talking about younger people who, everything is just quick, fast. Tap the card and that's it.
So pens will be going the way of the dinosaur at some point. I feel bad for the people who actually manufacture pens.
I don't think it's going to go
disappear.
that far. We're going to need pens. I don't think. I think it depends. It depends.
It depends.
We're going to need the pens.
Oh, I just got that. But listen, okay.
No,
No, but pens are they will become obsolete at some. Maybe they'll have a few, here and there for ceremonial purposes.
What gets
But
me? Yeah, okay.
well, what about the auto pen? Now they have a controversy with the auto pen. That is the signature real, or was it done by an auto pen? Whether it's some machine that can.
Yeah, I don't even know what is an auto pen.
It's a machine that looks like a pen. Well, I've seen one. And you could just put the document under it, and it'll come down and just scribble the name that you program into it. So if you're a famous person and your signature has to go on 1 million letters, they just do it with an auto pen. So it looks like your signature, but it wasn't. You didn't physically pick up the pen and sign it. Like if you're on the Christmas card list from a big dignitary or the president or something, they send out 1,000 Christmas cards, and they look like they're signed individually.
I see. So it's an automated signature.
That's
It's an automated
but it's a
signature.
facsimile of the real signature.
Yes,
Exactly.
Yes, and they're called auto pens, and
But
you can look it up. There's a big political controversy going on now over documents that were signed with auto pens, saying they're not official documents because they weren't officially signed.
Well, I'll tell you this. I went into the pharmacy because I do that a lot. I actually make appointments.
What is your friend a pharmacist?
No,
so you go to visit him?
no. I take a lot of drugs.
You do?
Yeah.
You could have fooled me.
You could have fooled me too. And
I
I'm
mean,
still not.
you look pretty good.
Not me.
What did you say?
Well,
Okay, say it again. So I go in there, and now I have to sign for it, which is okay, but there's no pen. Use your finger.
Right.
That bothers me because
That's my theory. Pens will be
oh,
disappearing.
that's right. That's right.
You're right.
It took a while.
I went to the drugstore recently, and they don't even. There's no stylus, right?
Nothing,
There used to be a
nothing.
stylus that you used. Now no, just use your finger.
And it's uncomfortable because
It's also unsanitary.
absolutely.
the
I don't know
bank-
what's going on. I think
Right. I remember when my bank had the pens on little chains. Remember the chains?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, you
well,
couldn't because people were taking the pens, and now they're just.
Remember that?
Are you kidding?
They used to have chains with no pen on the end.
Yes, you got to the end of the chain and there was nothing to write on.
Oh my
But now
God.
they're giving away pens. I went to a fellow's
Some
house.
banks,
I went to a
yes.
fellow's house to visit, and I was there, and he had one of those cups that you put your pens in and pencils. You keep any count there. He had 50 pens in there, all from Chase Bank. I said, "Where did
Chase,
you get
yes.
all those Chase pens?" He says, "I don't know. I got them at the bank."
And when I
said,
went to vote, you could take. They
Yes,
give
when
you
you
the
go to
pen.
vote, they give you a pen.
Pen.
They give you a pen, and I
I
think,
can't,
but it's interesting. Those pens have a rubber tip on the end, so you could use it for your iPad or whatever.
true.
touch screen.
Touch screen.
Sort of like a little gift.
Right. Which is actually what they should use at the pharmacy, because it's
Yeah.
more sanitary. You would
I
think
don't
that
know.
in a pharmacy
I give up.
they would have that instead of telling you to use your finger. They should have a container of wipes, right? So you wipe the screen after you
After you use it, it takes
sign
too
your
long.
finger. It takes too long. But you're already in a pharmacy, right?
Right.
Anyway, but yes, pens, I believe, are becoming obsolete. Just like The postcards. Now it's interesting. So we buy postcards once a year.
I'll read
When the
them.
the grandkids are in sleepaway camp,
Yeah, that's
we
different.
send them postcards. We're probably one of the few people that send kids postcards to summer camp because today they email. You know, the parents are allowed to email the kids in camp, so they don't even have to write letters.
That's exactly it.
I mean, I remember going to camp. It was such a big deal getting a letter, from a friend or a parent.
I wrote every single day when I was in camp for the first 2 weeks because I was homesick. First time I was away. And I would write a letter, take me home. The camp is terrible. I hate it. Why did you do this to me? And make them worried. And so they came up. They didn't come up to see me, but when they called the person that runs the camp, he came to see me. He says, do me a favor. Tell your parents you don't love it, but you don't hate it. Why? Because they're making me the bad guy. He was good. He said, why should I be? I run a camp. You have to get it. You have to adjust. I'll give you, take another week to get used to it. Go to a social.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the social and I liked it because I saw this girl there, this kid. I was 14.
Even back then, you were a dirty old man.
No, I didn't.
But
And
no,
that helped me.
But
That
the
helped me
kids.
when I saw this girl because I knew I would see her again.
But the whole
Sounds like a-
idea, we're talking about writing. The whole idea of writing, though, is becoming obsolete.
Yeah.
Look, greeting cards, right? You go to a greeting card store today. I rarely see a young person buying a card.
You're right about that. That's very
Right.
interesting.
Greeting cards.
And what about the business of sending Christmas cards or holiday cards?
Everything you can do them online,
It's
right?
not-
You can get those animated things. Instead of actually buying a physical card, you could get an animated card. And
One of our classmates was in that business. What's his name? He did that for a living.
Yeah, Carrie.
Carrie. He said,
That was his business.
That was his business.
Even I think somebody else. I think Alan, right, was involved in that somehow. But yeah, that's a whole dying industry. Look at Hallmark; they're closing their stores left and right. They used to have
didn't
stores
know
all
that.
over the place.
Oh, they were all over, right?
The brick and mortar business. Well, that's another thing.
But it's all. I think it's all. There's a common thread running through all
Yes, you
that.
got
That
it.
handwriting in general is becoming an obsolete form of communication. It's a shame. Remember in elementary school,
Oh,
at least every day you had to write something. When you're in
Penmanship.
first grade, they handed out these sheets that had lines that were an inch and a half
You got it.
apart, so
No,
and you learned how to write.
that was my favorite subject, though, because that was not so difficult. You didn't have to think. You just copied, and I was a good copier.
No, I remember in the second grade when we learned cursive, it was one letter every day that we learned.
Yeah,
right.
And one letter every day. So you did the A, the I forget what they call it, the lowercase a
Right.
looked a certain way, and the uppercase.
And
a
it had
looked
to
another way.
meet. There was you had the two
Lines.
lines,
Right.
and then there was like a very faint
Right.
or a dotted line between the two lines. So the lowercase letters had to meet that middle line. The uppercase had to meet the extended line.
And it was on the board.
Oh yeah, you had the whole alphabet
Some of
on
the
the head,
teachers
on the
put
front of
them
the
Well, that
class.
was printing. That was printing letters. But the cursive
No, I
letters,
had
when you did learn
penmanship.
script, we called it script.
Script.
Right?
Script.
When you learned how to write script. And I remember I was absent one day, and I missed the letter Q. I missed the letter Q.
It's a tough one.
So because it looks like a capital Q in cursive is like a 2. It looks like the number 2 or
Or
something.
you could get confused with a G. Right?
So
Or-
I never learned, because when I came back from being sick, I couldn't catch up to the Q. We were on to the next letter. So I never learned to write the capital Q or the lowercase Q.
and to this day,
And I remember going through high school, college, when I had to write the script, or when I was writing script, when it came to the Q, I never knew how to make the Q, and I had to look and see how other people did it and how it was done. And it sticks with me to this day. I remember I never learned the letter Q, how to write it in cursive writing, because the Q it's a different letter for printing. It was like a 0. You write the O with a little thing at the bottom, right? That was the capital Q. The lowercase Q is a very interesting letter. It was a very different letter than all the other letters. But I never learned the cursive Q, and to this day, I couldn't write it if I had to, and it's really weird. I'm glad I wasn't absent much, or else I would have missed a lot of other letters. But the Q never came. And I was never a big type person. Even when I got
Me
to
too.
college,
Still not.
I was writing out papers in longhand. Everybody else had what they called a word processor back then. Remember word processors? This was in the 70s, before home computers, before PCs.
I don't even remember where. I remember typewriters being used still back then, but
Right. Well, I wasn't much of a
that was the
typist.
early age of word processing.
Right. Where you had a keyboard, you had a screen, and then you could hit a button and it would print it out. So they were called word processors. So that was before PCs
Right.
came into effect. This was in the 70s. PCs didn't start till the mid 80s, the further 80s, and things like that. So I was still writing things out in longhand, and the teachers didn't like it because I had terrible handwriting, and the teachers didn't like it, and they said, "Well, why don't you start?" I don't know. I have it, but they used to say my handwriting was so bad I should be a doctor
Yeah, that's right.
because
That's what they used
doctors
to
were
say to me.
famous for having terrible
Terrible
handwriting.
handwriting.
Right. So they said, "Boy, you're going to be a doctor. With that handwriting, you're going to be a
Yes,
doctor."
I remember people used to say that, right?
But I never became a doctor.
But I was always jealous of those kids that had really nice handwriting. That you could,
Right. Yes.
you read every word was
Right.
crystal clear, crisp.
And the lines were straight, and then they,
I told you, I was one of those kids because I liked that. That's the only thing in school that I really excelled in. Everything else was a struggle, and that's another story. And I don't want to waste any more time with me about that, but it's an interesting story. One day, when you guys grow up, I'll be able to tell you. Not grow up, you.
Well, you just
Mature.
reminded
I'm
me
looking forward to
of
that.
an
You're looking forward to
interesting
that.
story about my handwriting,
Yeah.
how I overcame my disability when it came to handwriting, because I had terrible handwriting.
Me too, huh?
It would go, when I would write on a blank piece of paper, it would go all over the place. So how did I overcome that
How?
problem? You can buy index cards that are lined,
Oh,
right? So
yeah.
what I would do is I would take one of those index cards and I would put it under the blank piece of paper,
And trace.
and there were my lines. So when I had to write a letter, I would just follow the lines.
Very good.
And
So you found a way of doing
that
it.
was how I overcame that. And people would get my letters, they would read them and they would say, "Wow, you have terrific handwriting."
Isn't that
Now
something?
I've just told
That-
you my secret.
Yeah, I got it. All right, so we'll see what happens down the road. I mean, this is just when you think about it. For instance, the stamps. I went to Costco, as I say, I get stamps there, and it's because of a convenience. But I don't know how much of a deal that is. I don't even look.
no, they don't discount them.
They don't discount.
You pay the post office
Yeah.
price. But there are websites now
You
where you
can-
can order
right,
stamps
right.
at cheaper prices. Now, I don't know if these are real stamps, counterfeit stamps.
Counterfeit stamps.
Well, no, at
That could
78
be.
cents a piece, you can, I guess they're, but I bought 100 stamps for like $20. Forever
pretty good.
stamps. Maybe they're older forever stamps.
Well, you can use them
Forever.
forever.
That's the whole idea. But they came in the mail, 5 sheets, 20 stamps on a sheet. I got 100 stamps, and I've been using them. And the post office hasn't rejected any of them. They go through and everything. But I'm only paying, pennies considering 78
really
cents a
true.
piece.
Never thought of it that way. Never cared about it. But now everything. I didn't care about stuff like that. But now
I was in the Stop and Shop this morning. I had to pick up today is Erev Thanksgiving.
yeah,
All right. Erev for our
I didn't know it was a Jewish holiday.
Well, for our non-denominational listeners, Erev means the day before.
Right.
All right. In the Hebraic tradition.
Good.
So Erev, so it's the day before Thanksgiving. And I went into Stop and Shop this morning, pick up some odds and ends, and the people who stock the freezers and the meats were all talking among themselves. What are we going to do with all these turkeys? Nobody's buying turkey. We have all these turkeys. Can we donate them? Can we give them away? Can we call them to the other stores and get the other Stop and Shops?
Really? They were concerned?
Yes, because they're going to be stuck with lots and lots of turkeys. And I was listening to him. I said, well, why aren't they buying? He says, I don't know, but we have tons of turkeys. Nobody's buying them. I think they're expensive. They're more than their people
I don't know.
Usually turkeys get very discounted at high rates at Thanksgiving, but they weren't discounting them this year. They're 99 cents a pound, and usually you can buy them for, and they're all 10, 12 pounds of, small turkey's 12 pounds. So a small turkey is $12. A 20-pound turkey is,
Right.
20. But people are used to getting a big turkey for $7 or $8.
And they used to have promotional.
By the way, it's not
Top.
just the turkey that's probably gone up in price. It's everything
Oh,
else that's
every
gone
meat.
up in
the
price
stores-
as well.
Right, the prices are
But
not down.
I
in the stores.
guess that a lot of the food pantries will have turkey.
Turkey.
But they,
in the next couple of days.
But they're frozen, and it takes a week to defrost the
That's
turkey,
right.
unless you stick it in the bathtub.
But still, the food pantries will have a
Well, down the
load
line,
of turkeys.
I hope they get used.
Yeah,
and they get served.
that's the key is that they don't get thrown out. I'm sure that a lot of the supermarkets, work with food pantries and in
Oh,
general.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so too.
But that's surprising to hear that people are finding the turkey is that expensive. I mean, I don't know. We haven't done. We go to my daughter, so
Yeah.
they do everything. I haven't bought a turkey in a long time.
That's just my impression was that they're not buying them because people are on budgets and the groceries, despite what you hear from Washington, prices are not down in the grocery stores.
No.
The prices are.
The thing is, for years though, they've been doing promotions where if you spend X amount of dollars at any
Right.
store,
over a certain period of time.
you could get a free turkey or a ham.
Oh yeah, no, I remember that. Sure.
Or chicken. The thing is, though, even those promotions, they have raised the
Oh,
base.
yeah, that's how they do
over
it.
the
That's how
years.
they-
Oh, yeah,
that's how-
$200.
promotions.
It used to be $200.
Right.
I mean, now
Was it?
it's
Yeah.
$400
Is it
in
really?
most stores. Yeah.
Gosh.
But if you do it over a certain amount, 3-month period or 4,
They give you the time. It's like time.
Well, they don't
payments.
give you. They don't. Maybe they give you 2 months, something like that.
No, I remember it used to be a pretty big window that you can spend. You didn't have to collect the receipts; it was attached to your card.
Oh, that's right too, because of the
Attached
cost.
to
Yeah,
your
it's all
card and
automated,
Stop
right?
and
You didn't even
Shop
have to
or
follow it.
Shop right, this and that.
Exactly.
As long as you had.
But
so
I think
much-
they extended. It's not through Thanksgiving. I think it's through the end of the month.
That
So
could be. I
they give
wouldn't
you, an opportunity, I guess. You get the turkey, let's say the end of the month. It's frozen. You could use it for Easter or
Oh, yeah, no.
sometime in the spring.
No.
So
But-
that works out.
But I didn't see it this year because usually when the flyers come out on Wednesday,
Yeah, that's
something
right.
they show you the promotions for the turkeys.
Oh, it's been out for a number of weeks now.
But
I saw the TV had it, but early, very early.
And by the way, it's even though that threshold has increased over the years, considering the price of food in general, it's not that difficult to meet.
no, unfortunately, it's not. You're right. But they said they were stuck with a lot of turkeys, and I said,
Yeah,
well,
that's surprising. I guess people are probably buying less in general. They're only probably purchasing things that they actually need. There's less and less of this.
discretionary spending.
That's what it is.
But what is it when you walk up and down the compulsive buying?
That's
I
right.
think there's a lot less of that.
There's a
going
whole
on.
science to that. How they put things up on the
Certain
shelves.
shelves,
Where
right.
where they put the things in
Yeah.
the store too. Like
Yeah.
if you come in for milk, they don't put the milk right in front when you go in the store. The milk is always in the furthest part of the store, so
That's
you have to
right.
pass through everything else
Right.
to get your container of milk.
And when you walk in, they always have the snacks, right? Which is interesting. They have the snacks
What kind
right
of
when you
snacks?
walk in.
Which store?
chips.
They
I
have
think.
chips
Oh,
or
I
cookies.
thought you meant they were giving you
They have
snacks.
muffins.
Right.
But what's interesting is that once you pass that, you're in the produce section, which to me never made any sense.
The bacon-
Right?
the
They have the
bacon-
healthiest part, right? You have the worst stuff as soon as you walk in, and 10 feet away after that, you have the healthiest part. But like you said, you got to go through the whole store to get to the milk, which is a basic item. But in order to get to the milk, you got to buy
They
$150 worth of cookies and chips and
Believe me,
salsa.
it's a science. People
I
get
was
paid a
gonna
lot
say.
of money to figure that out.
It's a good word for that because it is.
It is
It's
how
for-
they do it. It's all one. You'll see. Sometimes they visit the stores. The big wigs visit the stores. And you
That's
see like
right.
6 managers walking around together with
I
their
saw that a
clipboards,
few
with their
times.
things, and they're all this aisle should be this, this aisle should be that, because they have their ideas of how the things should be laid out.
And people, I know a person on my block who was a Coca-Cola
distributor.
salesman, and he was telling me. He said, it's where it is. And first of all, you got to try to get up front. We get up front. We get first digs at getting up front. And some of our other sodas that they make, that Coke makes a lot of other, we know they push us, they pressure us to put it in the second, behind this, behind that. Every place you put food or drinks, there's a science, as you say, to it. Eye level shelf, and things
Oh
that
yeah, no, they pay for those spots, for
Yes.
those premium spots.
Right.
It costs more to put your product in the middle shelf than on the bottom shelf. and the company pays for it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the
That's
premium
right.
peanut butters, the store bought ones go on the bottom, the other ones go.
So
and they-
I have a question. We've got a couple of minutes left. It's very important. It has to do with actually what we're talking about right now with foods. To me, it's important. So we were in the supermarket the other day, and we needed onions. So I go to the onion bin, and I picked up 2 onions, and I put them in a bag. And right next to that bin, there was a big thing, a display with onions, bags of onions, a 5-pound bag or whatever it was for like $1.99. And I'm thinking to myself, these 2 onions that I just bought
No more than that.
are probably more than $1.99. So I asked my wife, maybe we should buy the big bag, right? And she said, what are we going to do with, 15 onions? We're going to wind up, we only need 2, So we wound up buying the 2, and probably cost us more. And then it would have, to purchase the bag that was on sale. So that's now I know it's a marketing thing, but
Oh, it is.
well,
but
some people are buying for more than 2 people. You know, families use.
but
maybe,
let's say somebody like, people like us, we only wanted 2 onions. Do we buy the 2 onions or do we go for the big bag? And now I heard some people, what they do is they just use the 2 onions and then they chop up the other onions and
Yeah,
they freeze
okay.
them, which
Yeah.
I didn't know you could actually freeze
I
onions.
didn't know that either, but you could do something.
Or they give them away, I guess,
Well,
right?
Some people can store them. They have pantries. They have rooms where you could stack them up. They don't have to be refrigerated. And I
Right.
guess,
I thought they did, no?
but I guess the shelf lives aren't super. They do go after a while. You want fresh onions or whatever the thing is. But some families shop for 6 or 7 people.
Yeah, that's different.
And,
No,
so
that's-
a bag is more. You might go through a bag in a week or something. It depends what your cuisine,
I
what
guess.
you're cooking.
But anyway, it was a conversation that I had with my wife,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't come to any resolution, as usual. But we did just buy the 2 onions. Anyway, I think we've just about run out of time. And what I'd like to do, we have
Yes.
the segment at the end of the show.
Absolutely.
Mrs. Murphy gave me her book with
I tell you that Mrs.
idioms.
Murphy really is something else. I thank you.
she reminds me, I see her once every couple of weeks, and she said, are you using my list? And I tell her, we do it every program.
Do you always ask her how Eddie's doing? Eddie Murphy? No.
Eddie Murphy. No, but I will next time.
Please, next time. Okay.
So this one, there's a very common phrase that we all know. It's dyed in the wool. Dyed in the wool?
I guess so.
And this is how it came
said.
about.
And it refers to connotation. What is the connotation of that thing?
All right.
dyed in the
In
wool?
medieval times, people applied vegetable dye directly to raw wool rather than to spun yarn or finished cloth. The goal was to let the dye seep into all the fibers, resulting in a more consistent and durable color in the final cloth. The technique led to the expression dyed in the wool, referring to someone deeply ingrained with a particular characteristic or belief.
That's what I was asking about. What it actually represents. So it represents somebody who has a deep belief or something, or
There you go.
a genuineness to them.
There you go. So you could have written this.
No, I didn't know where it came from about treating the wool before it's spun or treating it before the fibers. Because wool, when you put it on the spinning wheel and you spin,
Oh, yeah,
you
it's
spin
the
the wool.
picture.
Oh, okay.
So what
All
they're
right.
doing is they're dyeing it before they spin it and make
Well,
the threads.
that could be another.
I think it's
Another,
important. I think
element.
it's nice. I enjoy that because you two really are on the ball. You have good minds. You're very intelligent, and who? The two of you.
Oh,
Me, on the other hand, I enjoy it because I learned something, and my father always told me I had rocks in my head. So
All right. Well, you know what?
Wait a
With
minute, let me
that-
finish.
Well, with
Let me
that,
finish.
With that, yes.
Very important. So I asked my mother. I said, "Mom, how did the rocks get there?" And she said, "It's time for you to go out and play."
Okay. And with that, till next time, over and out, folks.